We have 5 minutes before our event begins. If you are able to hear me. One of the purposes of a field trip, of course, is to share the experience. In other words, you have the guide, you can go anywhere you want, but in Second Life and perhaps in First Life, you have to be within a certain distance of each other to share. Luckily, we do have the comment field, the text field, so please feel free to share there as well. If you'd like to speak in voice, that's excellent too. I don't always want to just be hearing myself. Like I tell my students, I don't want to be the only one talking sometimes. I'd like to hear their views and opinions and comments and experiences, particularly today, because that's what we're doing. We're commemorating the life and continued life of Dr. Paul Doherty, Plasma in Second Life, and the expressions of a creative spirit. That's exactly right. Wow, what a group. Okay, I have 10 a.m. Second Life time. It may be something totally different than that where you live, but that's the only thing we can't change in Second Life is the time zone. Yeah, I have a feeling that other people from different parts of the world are here at strange times, but like I said, it's the only thing we can't change in Second Life. Okay, I'm going to help conduct a field trip. If you have anything to share, if you've been here, if you have experiences, if you knew Paul or Patio, please contribute. I heartily encourage contributions in voice or text. I'm going to try to read the text. If you don't have the field guide, let me know, or others know, and we can share that. And so let's begin. We are, let me see, where are we? I need to take a look. Okay, we are right by the pond. By the way, the pond's at sea level, so you can fall in. It's not like some of the ponds in Second Life where basically it's just a texture. You can't go very far. However, if you will notice, you cannot fly here. You can jump, but not fly. So if you fall in, you can jump up. So that means you can't go up high. Now you'll need to go up high later on because some of the better exhibits are above ground. The way to get to them, and you can see this in the guide, but the way to get to them is there's a column over that away and that you can teleport to just about everywhere. There's also a map over there. So I would like to start by, if you have not been here, I'd like to start by showing you the map. So, okay, everybody kind of go to your left and follow the path around here, and we will look at how to get places. Okay? Wow, this is like the ducks in the pond. Everybody's following what I'm saying. Cool. Okay. Okie dokie. There are two ways to get places. If you click on the map here, it will actually teleport you to it. It will open up the map, and then you can go teleport. And you can get to most places in the Exploratorium. The only places that you can't get to are a couple of the places which are on this column over here. This column which I'm near has icons to Splo Island, and it has icons to exhibits that are above ground, which we will finish up above ground. Boy, this is a big group. My goodness. Okay, I'll try to stand here in the middle. Okay, if you're following the guide, then what I would like to do is to head over to the pavilion over there with the big orange pie. Whoop, not quite yet. Okay, right, 28 people, very good. Okay, so yes, Patio did touch a lot of lives, and that's why we're here. We're having some fun today. Now, some of you are near the display by the map, and it has to do with gravity waves. In fact, actually, if you look over by where Pani or Dai is, or Fuman, or Max, you'll see a display that shows the difference between gravity waves and the electric field, anyway, of electromagnetic waves. If you click on the electric one, you can get electric field part. You can get a note card from Patio, and if you click on the giver that's by the map, you can get one having to do with gravity waves. You will see lots of displays here on Exploratorium Island that Patio or Paul created. Also, I'd like to give a nod to, if you click on other objects, you will also see that Emily Clark who is also at the Exploratorium in San Francisco. Is Emily here? I'm not sure today, but in any case, they both work together on this island and on Splo Island. Now, Splo Island is the island to the south of here, which is focusing on mathematics. Okay, Let me give a quick introduction before we go places. One of the things you'll see in the guide is if you're reading this, then we share a common bond. It doesn't matter whether we've met in first life or not, because actually first life is kind of a fragile and temporary place, which we don't have much control over anyway. But if you're here, yes, but if you're here, we have a much more permanent bond in our collective memories and our ability to see expressions of creative spirits like Paul's long after we're unable to contribute here. Padioplasma has been one of the larger-than-life figures here in Second Life for some time. Actually, this land, if you look at the About land, was claimed back in 2004. And if you look at the guide, you can read about Paul and some of his interests, both at the planetarium, and then he has his own page. I'm going to just put one of them in there so you can see he had a very eclectic interests, including mountain climbing and Second Life and many other things. Okay. Does anyone know where the Exploratorium came from? In other words, what does this represent in First Life? Yeah, anyone been there? Yeah, it's a fascinating place. I actually went to high school or secondary school there, and I was able to visit when it first opened in 1969, which is dating me. But I used to go up there all the time when I was in high school. Great place. The Exploratorium in First Life, yes, I would too. The Exploratorium in First Life was a product of a science teacher named named Frank Oppenheimer. Anybody know that name? So I can't help it. The teacher's coming out at me. I got to ask. Plus, so you don't get bored with me also, so I ask questions, right? Okay, so now that Oppenheimer name, well, that's an interesting point. That's why I asked. Frank Oppenheimer was the brother of J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was on the Manhattan Project. So they were both physicists. Frank Oppenheimer was a science teacher, and even back in the 60s, Frank Oppenheimer was concerned about the public's lack of knowledge of science and tech. You know, what goes around comes around. We still have that problem. And he wanted to build a museum. What was a museum back then? A museum was a place where you kind of put your hands in your pocket and looked at stuff. But he wanted to build one where you can touch and explore and learn and discover from the exhibits themselves. And he started the museum there in San Francisco, and it led to others around the world. The Exploratorium here in Second Life is the first interactive museum in Second Life. It was started in December 2006. At the time, it was the heart of a region called the Skylands, which had over 25 islands. Now, I think we're down to about 6, and you can read about them if you want to from my guide. Okay, so let's take a look around. That's a background. Let's take a look around this island. Why is there a big pie in the middle of the pond, or the big orange pie behind you? Why do you think? The other way is I can also tell if anybody can hear me. Yeah, okay. So Pi Day. So what is Pi Day? I can't draw the symbol pi here, but when is Pi Day? Yeah, very good. Okay, 14th of March. Okay, here's a trivia question. Anyone know who was born on the 14th of March? Lots of people. Okay. Anybody famous? Well, actually, that's a great thing. I don't know. That's a good one. Einstein was, and there are tributes to Einstein here. Yeah, he happened to be one of my heroes. So, you know, he was born 14th March, died April 18th. I just happen to remember that trivia. So Pi Day has nothing to do with Pi Day. But the next place we're going to go is over to the orange pie behind us. Oh, very good. Thank you. So let's go over there. In other words, do an about face here and go toward the pavilion over there. And let's take a look at those displays there. Okay. Pi Day is a fun time period. We had it, particularly the best Pi Day we had at our university was 31416. And yes, everywhere it's got, you see the Pythagorean theorem over there. And I learned something the other day. There's something called a pi glass, which is an object where the height is the, let me see if I can look at my notes. The height is the same as the circumference. We all know that pi are not square, pi are round. Okay, never mind. Bad joke. Okay, but if you look around, you'll see all kinds of different applications of pi, and the whole idea is, yeah, I know. The whole idea is, I know, somebody had to say it. Okay, but the whole idea of Pi Day is to have fun with mathematics. Speaking of which, I am going to advertise Splo Island when you get a chance south of here. It was also built by Padioplasma, or Paul, with help of Emily and others. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so you can come back here or take a look at some of the things here. It's actually rather interesting, some of the displays and things you can learn on here. But the next thing I'd like to do is to go over to our, let's see, depending on where you're standing, I'll wander over that way, but we're kind of heading over to the next area here, which is the larger building. Okay. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody. Wow. Okay. I guess I didn't. Here again, the guide. If you do get lost, the guide shows the sequential order. Essentially what we're doing, by the way, if you were to look down at the map with all the little green dots on it, is we are doing a clockwise, yes, very good, a clockwise tour of the Exploratorium. So if you do get lost, just look for all the little green dots and you'll find us. I remember when this was built. This area here was built in 2011 after the horrendous 9.0 earthquake. We can wander into the center of it, but after the horrendous 9.0 earthquake and tsunami in 2011, this area was built, and then there were some areas after it. If you've never seen a nuclear power point, or excuse me, a nuclear power point, Freudian slip, a nuclear power plant, this is a third scale version of the one that was inundated by the tsunami in 2011. It's one of several types of nuclear power plants. If you want to actually get up near it, it's not radioactive in second life, so it's okay. We don't need a dosimeter here. Okay, however, not to play it lightly, obviously, you can tell more about what happened in the, yes, it is, and it was quite a good job here, and you can tell a lot more about what happened those days. with all of the displays here. I heartily recommend that you come back and look at the displays in this area. Okay. The next place, what I'm doing is kind of giving an overview of the sites and the creations of Patioplasma and Emily Starbrook, both the Second Life names of Dr. Paul Doherty and Emily Clark. Okay, we're going to continue. Oh, thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue around clockwise. That's a very good point. I would like to share something, and I don't know whether you've ever done it, but I was in a group a while back that tried an experiment, and they created an avatar, and against the rules of Linden Lab, they gave the pretty much, although actually I just gave something to the avatar of Patioplasma, and essentially, like on Facebook, your avatars, either on Facebook or in Second Life, remain forever until Linden Lab or whomever decides that they don't. And so, essentially, one of the things I want to share, of course, is that we do. Patio and Paul will remain with us as long as we're around, and then if we share, they'll continue to remain around. And that's the wonder of creativity, is that whether it's a book or a movie or a creation in Second Life, it's forever. It's much more permanent than the physical world. And that's true. I don't know who's paying for this island, but one of the reasons we want to do a tour is I don't know who's paying for this island. Hopefully they'll continue it because it does represent the Exploratorium in San Francisco. Okay, we're going to continue around clockwise on the island, and we'll discover a little bit about the solar system. There's some pretty cool things here. I'm going to go over to the corner here. Hopefully you can still hear me if you... Okay, I'm going to stand over in this corner here. This was one of the older parts of the sim, by the way. Boy, we have more people. This is great. This is one of the older parts of the sim, and it displays the actual relationship between size and distance for the inner part of the solar system. You got a really nice looking sun here. It's a scale model of the sun, the earth, the moon, and if you actually follow, which we will here in a minute, if you actually follow this light ray and the big red arrow, which doesn't exist in First Life, it is. It's a great model. They've done a good job, and they've updated it. And if you follow along this line, which I'm going to do next, this is where our tour is going. Let me see so I don't run into anybody. It's a pretty full area. Is I'm going to follow this line, and you will find other parts of the display. This is one on the eclipse here. And if we can meander past the pine trees and follow the line further. By the way, has anyone found Mercury? There's the sun back there. Where's Mercury? Mercury is coming up. Compared to the sun, by the way, okay, how many moons? Okay, here, okay, let's see if we got everybody. How many moons can you fit? How many diameters of the moon can you fit on the sun? A lot of people said it over the last month. In other words, why can we have an eclipse? Yeah, there we go. Okay, the actual answer is 400. You could fit 400 moon. It is very. Okay, so you can fit, the sun is very large, and so you can fit 400 moons across it if you had 400 moons. It just so happens that the moon is 400 times closer than the sun. So I did with that with my students. I said, okay, let's do a little math here real quick. If you got the moon at 20, whatever, 300 miles in diameter, and you've got 400, how big's the sun? Anybody want to do a quick math? Okay, I'll give you the answer. Okay, sun's about 100 million miles. By the way, you can tell I'm from the United States because we're about the only civilized country that uses miles, except for maybe England. Anybody else use miles? Okay. But I only know it in there. I'd have to translate to meters. Okay. So, any case, here is Mercury. I think that's Mercury. Yeah, that's Mercury. And Mercury is so small. Can you see it? If you actually zoom in, I think Mercury is actually there. But compared to the sun, Mercury is a little bitty dot. And Earth's not too much bigger. And then if you continue along this line, yeah, there's a tiny little dot. That's Mercury compared to the sun. And if you continue along this line, you'd see Venus, and then you'd see the Earth and Mars. But, excuse me, the Earth and the Moon. But what we will do is we'll wander over here instead. If you wow, everybody coming out of, hey, I got my voice back. Everybody coming out of the trees there looks like a episode of The Walking Dead. Okay, cool. It did to me anyway. Okay, so I got my voice back. At least that was my theory. Now, if you want to find a good science book, those columns back there show some good science books. Now, what have we got here? We have two big walk-in planetarium-looking thingies. The one I like is over here, and we can't all walk into it, but you can zoom in on it and take a look. What do we got over here? Okay, teacher in me talking. If somebody wants to walk in it, that's great. But what do we have here? What do you see? You can zoom in. Stars. Okay. What kind of stars? Where stars? Not just not the ones we necessarily see in the sky. Some of them, huge stars, that's for sure. This is not scale model here. But can anybody guess what this one depicts? Good guess on that one. And a little bit more local than that. Very good. Okay, Mike. If you actually look, these are, I think, represent like the closest 50 stars. I recognize a number of them. I minored in astronomy when I was doing a degree in chemistry. But if you look, you'll see in the... And I see what you mean with the Milky Way. In the background is the Milky Way, but the little dots of different color, by the way, those may be real colors of stars, is right in the center. You'll see, ooh, that's possible too, or distance or whatever, but you'll see Sol in the middle. In fact, actually, I should be turning around talking to you guys, not to the blob there. But if you look in it, you'll see Sol in the middle, that's us, or at least 100 million miles from here, 93 million. And then you'll see stars like Alpha Centauri, which is the closest star, and you'll see Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky because it is a big hot star that's only like, I think, 8.3 light years. Hey, has anyone heard of the experiment where they're planning to launch a whole bunch of tiny itty-bitty spacecraft and propel them to a third of the speed of light with laser beams so that they'll reach Alpha Centauri in 25 years? Yeah, you can walk right into it. Be right among the stars. Yeah, it's quite a experiment that they're thinking of doing. But in any case, you can see most of these stars up in the sky, and some of them are some of the brighter stars in the sky. Okay, so if we're looking at stars, what do you think we're going to look at next? Let's take a look. This big building with the dome. Anybody recognize what this is? Okay, let's see. Yes, yes. Leslie, very, very good. A lot of the red dwarfs we cannot see except with what? One of these things. There's probably room here for everybody. Come on in. Okay, I've actually been here. I mean, okay, yeah, we're all here, but I've actually been here in First Life. What are we looking at? It is. It's a very cool telescope. Okay, who's ooh, and some people are up on the top already. Followed the ladder up. Does any yes, excellent. Max got the bonus points here. This is Lick Observatory. I've been up here. Lick Observatory was the first observatory in the world built on top of a mountain in 1888. Oh, good. Well, you know, I didn't even see that, so maybe you can read the sign too. Hey, okay, so there is in fact, let's see, who's next to it. There is Greg is next to it. Okay, I had to see. Okay, so Greg, could you please click that orange switch right there down at your right foot? Ooh, okay, what is happening? Can anybody guess why? This is, by the way, this is in real life too. This is what happens at like observatory. Well, since it is in the San Francisco Bay Area, how do you get to see the telescope if the telescope is not at your height? This is the way you get to see, absolutely. In other words, the floor actually raises up, and then you can look at in the telescope. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And that actually exists in real life. This is a refracting telescope. It is, I think so, or a big ladder, you know. Yeah, exactly. But this is a refracting telescope. Most of the telescopes today are reflecting telescopes. That's why you don't see ones like this very often. This was built back in 1888. Actually, this wasn't. Second Life hasn't been around that long, but the real one is. Okay, now we need to go down so we can go out the door. So if somebody would please click that switch again. Thank you. Okay. By the way, okay, here's another bonus point. Why is this telescope and not some other telescope on Exploratorium Island? And now, okay. If anybody, and let me see, shut the door until somebody gets the answer. Nah, that's okay. Well, that's a good point. Actually, you can go up there, public domain and stuff. It's actually owned by, it is the oldest mountaintop telescope. In other words, it's the first telescope built on a mountaintop in the world, 1888. But the reason it's here on Exploratorium Island is because the Exploratorium is in the San Francisco Bay Area. And if you're a resident of that area, you can see this telescope from a lot of places in San Francisco area. I used to see it from my high school or secondary school. I went to school in above the fog, or back in the old days, above the smog. But I went to school in Silicon Valley, long before it was Silicon Valley, and you can actually see this telescope really well. And it does. It gets snow up there. Very good. Okay. And let me see. Make my way to the door. When I go out the door, I'm going to turn left. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Mount Hamilton. Absolutely. You can drive up there. Okay. Do-do-do. Okay. Now, if you have not been here, this is a really cool area. And this is, to me, this is one of the places that actually shows why 3D virtual world, in other words, it actually uses some of the characteristics of the 3D virtual world to its full extent. These are optical illusions, and if you come back or take a look at some of them, they're rather fascinating because they're all built with easy scripts, but they depict optical illusions in 3D, and you can look around them and stuff. This is one of my cooler places I found was pretty cool. Okay, so take a second around. I'm watching my time here. And this is called the Illusion Pavilion. And then what we'll do is continue around the world, around the island, past the larger auditorium, to see some exhibits which Paul or Patio put together about the recent total solar eclipse. Okay, let's continue our tour around. This is a place to come back to. This is cool. And you can, if you look at my guide for the field trip, those links are teleport links to each of these places. Or if you go toward the pond, you can use the teleport map. So let's go over to the big auditorium, past the trees. If you get lost, just go clockwise. We're going up toward the northwest. Okie dokie. Okay. Free Eclipse t-shirts. Get them now. I haven't got one yet. Here's some free Eclipse t-shirts. If anybody wants one, contains male and female mesh, 5 sizes, plus classic avatar. What's a classic avatar? Okay, I don't know anyone the same size in here. Kind of like First Life. Okay, here's another one of those teleports. Okay. A noob, got it. Okay. Here's another one of the teleport columns. I can walk backwards in Second Life. Watch. Cool. Okay. Except I run into things. So I'll walk backwards here, and let's take a look over here. Girl next door. Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Classic. By the way, you may not want to get too close to me because I haven't changed my clothes since 2007. Ha ha. My avatar, anyway. This is what I looked like back in 2007, so I just kept it. I haven't updated. Okay. But there's some marvelous ones here that talk about the total solar eclipse. And if one of you would like, there is kind of a little righty ball over there where you can click on it, and it will give you a view of what a total eclipse actually looks like. But this is another very good place to take a look. And it shows you over here what the path of the 2017 eclipse, as far as weather goes. Wouldn't it be awful to, and some people did, wouldn't it be awful to try to see the eclipse? You spent all that money, and it rains. Ugh. Okay. Hey, anybody see the total eclipse? Now's my teacher moment here. Anybody able to see it? You'd have to have been in kind of the United States or someplace, right? Yeah, almost in Virginia. I only got a set. Yep, I got a 65%. Okay, when? Okay, it was mostly cloudy. Okay, so when can you actually look with your unaided eye? I don't know if it's naked eye. I wear glasses in First Life. Well, that's what I told people, and actually during the actual totality, they were saying you could, although I'd be real careful anyway because of the radiation. UV. I'm not talking about nuclear, but yeah. Okay, now, did anybody do this? What I did was, because we only had about 65 or 70%, is I took a piece of paper, grabbed a pin, put a little hole in the pin, held it up to the light, and was able to project a wonderful little partial eclipse on the ground. And it was so funny. I wish I'd taken a picture of it because, yeah, a pinhole camera. And I wish I'd taken a picture of it because a whole bunch of people were taking a picture of my projection on the sidewalk that I'd made with the pinhole camera. I mean, that I would have liked to YouTube. That would have been fun. Leaf holes. There's another one. You could do it with leaf reflections. Absolutely. Max, normally if you go under a tree, sometimes you see the little projections, and in an eclipse, you're going to see these little crescents all under the tree, something very strange. Okay, fun with eclipses. Now, when is it, okay, if you happen to live in the United States, when is the next total solar eclipse? If you live other places in the world, then share, but anybody know when the next total solar eclipse? Absolutely. And by the way, you're all invited to my house. My house is right under the total eclipse, so I don't even have to go anywhere. I go in the backyard, do barbecue. So I'm lucky. 7 years from now, you're all invited. Just contact my avatar, okay, if we still have Second Life in 7 years. Anybody want to take a guess on that one? Maybe Mitra and Sansar? I don't know. Okay, we're going to continue around to the next exhibits here, and actually they're right over here. I'll go kind of slow here, so... Okay, what are we looking at? Teacher moment. What are we once everybody shows up here, because you got to be within what, 30 meters for everybody to hear me, unless I shout. Okay, what are we looking at here? This is actually kind of interesting. Anybody want to, if you click on the glass, okay, who's the first person? Click on the glass and then write on one of the balls in there. I did it the other day. It works. It's kind of cool. So what are we looking at? Random motion? Yep. Okay. Or what's called Brownian motion. Back about 100 years ago, actually a little bit before that, is that atoms were still somewhat theoretical. And so they had things like the pudding model, where they thought that, things basically were like raisins inside a pudding thing and all that, before they had before they really knew that atoms existed. So the Brownian motion is a way to actually see that something's pushing on an object. You can read more about it. There's a note card. And anybody know who explained how Brownian motion, what Brownian motion was, and helped to prove that there were atoms? Einstein, yep, again. And, yep, yep, there you go, okay. And in one of the papers that Einstein wrote in 1905 was not the special theory of relativity, but also the one on Brownian motion, okay, which helped to prove that atoms actually existed. Okay, so let's wander around. Now this one, tell me if anyone can work this one. This one used to be one of my favorites, but it quit long ago, at least for me. Okay. Has anyone ever used this one? Here, I'm watching my time. I'm hoping to finish the field trip within about an hour. Okay, if anyone wants to try it, see if it works. What this is if anybody's really good with memory, what you do is down at the bottom there are 5 numbers, and you click on one of the numbers, and then it will turn all the green dots into only that many dots, and then the dots move everywhere, and you're supposed to remember which, and then it goes just to green, and then it just shows all the green dots, and you're supposed to pick out which ones were the blue dots. Very difficult. You could probably follow 2 or 3 if you're very good, but 4 or 5 are near impossible. So, and I haven't gotten this to work for years, so I just showed you a display that's no longer interactive, but it was one of my favorites. It's kind of cool. Yeah, unfortunately. If I could look at the script, maybe we can fix it, but I can't. Okay, so okay, yes. Okay, Mars, that's where we got to go. Okay, how do you get to Mars? Well, what we have to do is we have to find one of those columns. Here again, I won't go too fast here because we have to find one of the teleport columns. One of them is back near the pond. So I'm going to let me see if we can find one from here. We need to go back to the pond. And it's in the center of the island, so you may need to look at there's the pond. Okay, follow Mike. And somebody just knocked over the pies. You got to pick them up. Okay. Mike's headed toward there. Head toward the pond. Go toward the light. Okay. There you go. Charlize is jumping that direction. Okay, it may not, just like a web server. Okay, fun with servers. Let's see if we can crash the server here. Now, over on this side, look in the middle for the one that looks like the asteroid hitting Mars. And I will wait, and I'll be the last one, down with the ship or whatever here. But click on the one that looks like the one of the asteroid, and everybody should disappear and show up on Mars. Okay? And as the avatars disappear, I'll wait for most people to go. And if not, then I guess you're leaving because I'm boring. But in any case, click on the asteroid and try to go to Mars. And then I'll join you. Okay. It's in the middle over on this side of the column. It looks like a big asteroid hitting Mars, which it is. Okay. And we're having fewer and fewer avatars here, so almost everybody's there. Okay. If you have friends, oh, okay. Hey, most people are here and seated. Excellent. I wasn't the last one to abandon the ship. There were a couple people down there. If you have friends down on the ground, please contact him. Gum under the seat. Oh, I haven't looked. Okay, I don't know. I got to look under the podium too. But in all seriousness, this is where the memorial service was held for Patio, for Paul, back on August 26th. You can still click on the ones on the pillar. You can look at the slideshows here of Patio and Paul and the memorial here. Has anyone been here at another time? Does anyone know what happens here? Yeah, and I couldn't get it to, absolutely, this is one of my favorite spots on Exploratorium, and I couldn't get it to work, but how do you get the asteroid to work? Because that's quite awesome. It's one of the better scripts I've seen in Second Life. Does anyone know if it was disabled? It may be temporarily disabled for the memorial. Yes, okay, for the memorial service, it was disabled. But I don't want to spoil it, but if you get a chance to come back and they return it, it is a startling demonstration of what would happen if you were standing on Mars and an asteroid hit. It was quite a good script. Okay. What I think I will do is that, yes, I think for the memorial service. Okay, there's a lot of, okay, yes, I'd like to see that if Emily Clark would put it back. Is that, or Emily Starbrook is Second Life name. Okay, I'd like to actually conclude here with the memorial for Paul, for Patio, and like in the memorial, if anybody would like to talk or text or contribute, if you weren't able to be at the memorial, or those that attended the memorial, or if you want to say something about your experience with Patio or Paul, it is. And I will give you that opportunity because I'm going to conclude the tour here. I greatly appreciate that everybody came out, and especially this tribute to Paul. I think he would be absolutely pleased with the show today. We know that Paul's still with us, that Patio is still with us, and so I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to conclude here. Thank you very much. And if anybody would like to contribute while we're still here, thank you. If anybody would like to contribute while we're still here, I will give you the floor now. Thank you.